Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are reportedly tipped to step up to fill the absence of senior royals. It's been a difficult time for the royal family, with both King Charles and Princess Catherine being diagnosed with cancer. Royal expert Phil Dampier told GB News, "I know that Bea and Eugenie are willing to do more and would happily help out. They just need to be given the green light." With Harry and Meghan and Prince Andrew off the scene, the slimmed down monarchy is looking a bit thin. Beatrice and Eugenie are titled members of the royal family, but the sisters have never been asked to become senior working royals. Meanwhile, Princess Beatrice is back in the spotlight after being depicted in the new Netflix film Scoop, which dramatises her father, Prince Andrew's career-ending BBC Newsnight interview. There are reports the entire York family is reeling from the release of the film, particularly Princess Beatrice. Charity Wakefield was cast to portray the princess in a supporting role, which revealed the royals' involvement in helping broker the interview. According to royal insider Jenny Bond, Princess Beatrice is annoyed to have her involvement in the interview being made much more public. She told OK Magazine, Beatrice in particular will undoubtedly be annoyed and upset that her part in setting up and monitoring the interview will now be made so much more public. Royal commentator Josh Rom has described the film as a real nail-biter, and it tells the story of Prince Andrew's train wreck interview. Now, you sat down with the man who stars as Prince Andrew. Let's take a look.
Watching the initial interview, and I made my judgments, as humans do, but performing him, it's a matter of trying to see it from his point of view. It's not the same as sympathising, but in order to represent the story better, you have to try to see it through someone's eyes. And then that includes the way they delude themselves.
Josh, I'm looking forward to seeing your full interview, but what more can you tell us?
Yeah, and actually what's very funny, just quickly going on to the previous point, is actually at the end of my interview with Rufus Sewell, which will hopefully be out fully on Talk Radio and Talk TV's social media channels within the next couple of days. But what was very interesting at the end of the interview, because I asked Rufus, I said, and he was sat with director Philip Martin as well, who was the other man in the video. But I asked him, I said, do you feel uncomfortable releasing this film at this time, particularly because this is a time of crisis for the royal family? And what Rufus said is, we've got to remember that they're human beings. And I think that is a very big point at the moment, especially after the whole conspiracy theories that we've seen with Princess Catherine. I think people forget that she is a mother, she is a wife, she is a human being, and I think that's important to remember. But I will say, this film, Scoop, on Netflix, it is a real nail biter. So, I mean, we've all seen that 2019 Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis that effectively ended Prince Andrew's royal career. Well, we're about to relive it all over again, detail by detail. I'm talking No Sweat, I'm talking Pizza Express in Woking, the absolute lot. And it's done in a way because I don't think it shies away from the fact that the audience know about this and that the audience is seeing these events in retrospect. So it doesn't shy away from that fact, but because of that, they take a very interesting tone. It takes an unsuspecting tone that we wouldn't be used to, because it's very serious subject matter. They kind of take the approach where some of the actions, particularly when it relates to Prince Andrew, is that it's so bad that it's laughable. So they kind of mix in these kind of elements of satirical comedy and blend it with intense and quite spectacular dramatization here. Gillian Anderson as Emily Maitlis. I mean, thank you, Netflix, for giving us a real Gillian Essence. I loved her in Sex Education. We all know her, of course, from The X-Files. Some of you guys might know her from The Viceroy's House, in which she starred alongside with Hugh Bonneville. I loved her in Sex Education, I said, and of course she played Margaret Thatcher in The Crown. So this is yet another iconic Netflix role. We've also got Billie Piper from Doctor Who fame, starring as the esteemed producer Sam McAllister, who booked and secured the interview for BBC Newsnight, that inspirational television producer who overcame all the odds to get the scoop of the century for the BBC. And Sam McAllister herself the real life Sam McAllister was an executive producer on this film. This film is based off of her memoir Scoops, in which she details many of her interviews that she produced for the BBC, not just this one. And of course, it's also got Rufus Sewell as Prince Andrew, and also Keeley Hawes as Amanda Thirsk, his private secretary, who was later fired after the interview. It is a real nail biter. They've kind of turned it into a thriller. There are elements of it which are comical, which are laugh out loud funny, but yet it very much acknowledges the serious subject matter behind all of this, and that is the victims of the sex trafficking ring by Jeffrey Epstein.
Josh Romm, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. My favourite guest as always. We'll speak to you next week. Royal editor of the Daily Mirror, Russell Myers, has told Sky News he believes the movie will be a blockbuster success for Netflix.
Russell, what do you make of Scoop and how accurate is it?
Well, I quite enjoy it. I've seen it twice now. I thought I saw it on a screening a few weeks ago, and I've since watched it after its global release, and I've actually got a bit more into it. I think Rufus Sewell is absolutely fantastic in his portrayal of Prince Andrew. We all know the story, don't we? We've absolutely been fascinated for it over the last few years. I think that this will be a blockbuster success for Netflix. There is so much interest in the Prince Andrew story, how on earth he would have not only put himself in the position of being friends with Jeffrey Epstein in that awful web of deceit and deception about how Prince Andrew even came to thinking that it would be a good idea to sit down with BBC Newsnight. And we obviously know the fallout and his eventual downfall that took place after that. But it's a very interesting watch. Some of the critics have panned it, some of them have loved it, but I do think that there'll be an awful lot of people interested in the story because of how disastrous it was for Prince Andrew at the time.